Meeting is now streaming live on custom live streaming. So we are talking about debt today, and this is the first time that I have done this way. So give me a check to make sure that I'm actually going live correctly. I'm going to be talking about debt, making you feel better about it because, like, honestly, there's good debt, there's bad debt, and if you are a person, chances are you have some kind of debt, so you shouldn't feel too bad about it. I'm going to be talking about all kinds of different things. There we go. All right, this appears to be working. Got it. All right. No, thank you. Boop, boop, boop. So as we go, please feel free to ask questions in the chat over there. If you're watching this after the live event, ask questions in the comments. I'll reply to you in the comment section. This is informational and educational. As always, personal finance is personal. So, grain of salt, everything here. It's generalizations that I'm going to be giving you, but I think it should be pretty helpful to get out of debt fast and efficiently. So now I'll be talking about 5 different things. How having debt doesn't make you a bad person. The difference between good and bad debt, because these are terms that we sort of throw around, but I don't know if we explain that enough as personal finance educators, the difference between good and bad debt, how to know which debt to pay off first, discuss the different ways of paying off debt, because honestly, people in the personal finance world make a big deal out of the snowball versus avalanche thing, and it's only because they're trying to get clicks. It's fine. Let's just talk about it. And my system for paying off debt. So the ways, like the step-by-step, here is what you do. If you have a bunch of debts, do this to figure out which way to pay off first. So that way you can save the most money and get out of debt as efficiently as possible, but while still being motivated so that it feels good for you. If I keep looking over, it's because that's where my notes are. By the way, notes color-coded. Guess who just got a bunch of fancy gel pens in the mail? Thank you very much. Very excited about it. Ooh. And the last thing, talking about the sort of elephant in the room, bankruptcy. Because too often we ignore that option, and it's an option for a reason, because it's the right move for a lot of people. And it may or may not be the right move for you, but we'll talk about it. Again, if you have comments, please pop them in the chat if you're live. If not, put them in the comments section. If you know somebody who's struggling with debt, share this video with them. Oh, maybe I should introduce myself. What's up? I don't do lives very often. My name is Kate. I run some social media channels called the Money Librarian. I am a legitimate librarian. I actually do have a master's in library science and whatnot. I was a librarian for many, many years. And now I help smarty pantsers like you understand our overly complicated financial system and hopefully win at it. I'm doing all of this week, or going live every single day this week, in celebration of my 2024 Money Reboot, which is an event I'm having on January 29th, so Monday. And it's going to be at 2:30 and 6:30 Central Time. The Money Reboot is going to be awesome. It's a live event, but you have to sign up for it. It's not going to be here on YouTube. And it's like, if you have some 2024 goals for your money, made some resolutions, it's going to help you actually achieve those resolutions. We're going to help make a plan. We're going to celebrate each other. And because nobody ever gives you gold stars anymore as an adult, we need to incorporate more gold stars in our adult lives. And this will make getting all those little things that you need to take control over your money way more fun in a supportive environment. Let me pop that link in the chat section so that you can sign up for it. It's going to be great, or just learn more about it. There we go. All right, so that is in the chat. Check it out. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this. Now, debt feels awful for a lot of people, but having debt doesn't actually make you a bad person. It feels awful because we know that incoming money isn't really our own, with it, it's going to somebody else first off. And in our society, it often, too many people think that it's a reflection on you as a person. If you have debt, then you must be a bad person. Probably not, honestly. Life events can happen, divorce, just tough things that occur. And so then you end up, depending on things like credit cards, too much. That's normal. That happens. That's fine. There's a problem with not enough people making a living wage. So a lot of people depend on credit cards just to make ends meet, even though they're doing everything right. Like it is mathematically impossible for a lot of people to make ends meet. So they end up in debt because they're not making a living wage. Okay. Then we have medical debt. You know, that's going to get everybody. If the option is pay $100,000 or have cancer, like, all right, I guess I'm going to be paying $100,000. So there's a lot of different reasons why you may have debt. It doesn't mean anything about you as a person. Don't you worry about that. All right. All that's going to do is make you feel bad and kind of hinder your ability to do anything about this debt. If it just makes you feel bad, you're not going to face it. But if you realize this doesn't mean anything about me, all I have to do, like it's simply math and numbers. I just have to face it, get out of the debt. You're much more likely to do the darn work to get out of debt. So let's talk about this some more. Not all debt is bad debt. And this is a shocker for so many people when I tell them, they're like, no, not all debt is bad debt. Like to become a doctor in the United States, you're probably going to get into a few worth of student loans to become a doctor. And then you'll make 200 grand your first year. Like once you're out of all the sort of stepstones, when you're like a full doctor and whatnot, you're going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And that only goes up year after year. So you're getting a good return on your investment. That's really the difference between what we consider good debt and bad debt is what is the return on the investment. That's why property, like houses, are usually considered good debt because property values tend to go up over time. I know we bought our house many years ago. It's now worth $100,000 more than it used to be, and our mortgage is $600 a month. I live in a very low cost of living area, and a rental for one bedroom is going to be like $1,100. So that is considered a good debt. Good debt means you get a return on your investment, and usually good debt comes with a very low interest rate. Federal student loans have interest rates now around like 6-7%, which is historically high for the past 20 years or so. But compared to things like credit cards, that is very low. So good debt tends to have low interest rates, and you get your money back. Bad debt, usually consumer debt, high interest rates, and you'll never make that money back. So things like even cars, which, yeah, sure, maybe you can sell your car for $15,000, but did you buy it for 30? And then over the course of how many years you spent how much on insurance and gas and maintenance, right? You're never going to get all of that money back. Things like clothing, TVs, that kind of consumer debt is bad. And that's why also the interest rate is so high, because lenders know that they're not going to get their money back. If you stop paying them and they repossess your car, they're not going to get what you owe them for the car, which is why they charge so much on interest. So that is bad debt. High interest and things that you're not getting any return on the investment. You're just buying the thing for having the thing. You know, like a jacket. Great, you need to stay warm. That's what you're getting for it, but you're never going to sell like $100 jacket for more than you paid for it, probably. So that's the difference between good and bad debts. Now, let's see here. Let's talk about how to know which debts to pay off first and the different debt pay down methods. Like I mentioned, people in personal finance get super persnickety about like, if you don't do the debt avalanche, you're an idiot. Or if you do the debt snowball, or if you don't do the debt snowball, you're stupid. Like, both of those methods are perfectly good methods for paying off debt. They really are, honestly. So the difference between the two, if you don't know, if you don't swim in the financial waters that I do, the debt avalanche is when you pay off your debts according to the highest interest rate first. Usually, this will save you the most money in the long run because it's the interest that's really costing you a lot of cash. right? So that's why they say pay the highest interest rate first, because that will save you the most money. And that is true in almost all situations. But it doesn't feel great. You know what feels great and is really motivating? Getting rid of debts, which is where the debt snowball comes into effect. The debt snowball is when you pay off the smallest balance first. And then you move on to the next smallest balance and the next smallest balance. And that's why it's considered like a snowball. That is really motivating. It feels great for people. And so when psychologists study the effects of doing the avalanche versus the snowball, oftentimes people who do the snowball actually follow through with their plan because it feels better. Now, I am happy you want to do one or the other, whichever feels great to you, do that one. Again, this is informational and educational. I'm just telling you about the methods and why you would choose maybe one or the other. So if you are more of a numbers-driven person and the debt doesn't feel awful to you, then you probably want to go with the avalanche method, highest interest rate first. If the debt feels awful to you and you really want that motivation, probably debt snowball is the way to go. And there's a million videos on YouTube that will explain them all in more detail because there are more details that I'm not talking about here. When you are working on getting out of debt, that will increase your credit score. Tomorrow at the exact same time, I am going to go live here on YouTube to talk about how to get a great credit score, like what a credit score is, what they base it on, all that stuff. And that's important because your credit score will determine your interest rate for when you borrow money. So whether maybe you're looking at getting a new car soon, well, do you want to pay 9% interest or 19% interest? Credit score is going to matter. So come out tomorrow for that. My system. So if you are in debt and you're like, okay, Kate, just tell me what the hell to do. Okay, here's what you do. Number one, I want you to sit down and write out every single debt that you have, and you're going to name it. Like, okay, my Visa card, my medical debt, my student loans, my care credit, whatever the debts are, write them out. What is the balance? What is the current balance? What is the interest rate? And what is the minimum payment? Those 4 pieces of information: name, balance, interest rate, and minimum payment for every debt you have. And you're going to look at them. And depending on whether you want to do the avalanche or the snowball, you're going to determine which one to pay off first that way, but you won't know which one to pay off first unless you list them all out. No, once you have them all out, add up the minimum payments. So let's say you have minimum payments of $500 total. And when you add all these things up, I'm just pulling numbers out of the air. I'm sure your numbers are going to look very different, but say $500 total. Then you're going to say, okay, how much more will I promise to put towards my debts every single month? Let's say it's only $100, right? Okay, you are going to then spend $600 every single month until you are out of debt on these debts, because this is what gets people into trouble when they start paying off their debts and then they start pocketing that extra money to use for spending money. That increases the length of your debt payoff period by years. Like, just pick a number, stick with it. So let's say you have $500 of minimum payments and you're like, okay, I'm going to pay an extra $100. So I swear I will pay off, or I put $600 to my debts every single month. Okay. So once you decide which one you're going to pay them towards, focus that extra $100 one debt at a time. And this, people are like, Kate, are you serious? Why wouldn't I put it towards a few different debts? Why wouldn't I put like $50 to one and $50 to another? Because this will get rid of your debts far faster and help you save a lot more money. Think about it this way. If you had 10 debts and an extra $100 to put towards all these 10 debts, that means $10 extra every single month, which will get you nowhere in the long run, right? If you Though, if you take that $100 and you put it towards one debt, in 10 months, that one debt is now paid but down by $1,000. Now you're talking real money. And that's only an extra $100 a month. If you could put 200, 300, $400 a month, like now you're really getting out of debt and you're knocking these debts off. Whether you choose avalanche or snowball, you are going to be getting rid of these debts so much faster, one by one by one by one. Now, if you want to save the most money, you really look at the high interest debt, like the stuff that's over 20% interest, that's costing you a lot of money. You can mix up the snowball and the avalanche. Like, let's say that you have a debt that's like $300 and you can get rid of it in 2 months. Sure, get it out. Even if it's not that much money or not much of an interest rate, get it out of your life. If it's going to feel good to you and it's going to be motivating to you. Okay, so if you get rid of all your high interest debt, now if all the debts that you have left are low interest, and I'm going to qualify that as like under 10% interest. At that point, you may want to reassess, is it more important for me to get rid of my debt or to like save an emergency fund, put towards retirement, save towards a wedding, a car, whatever kind of stuff you're looking for? Because we have a lot of different things that we need to put our money to in life. It's not just debt. So I would reassess at that point. Once you have paid off everything that is above 10% interest rate, think like, okay, now where do I want to be putting my money? But again, personal finance is personal. You have to speak with a financial professional really to find out what's best for you at that point. I do have a YouTube video. I will, after this is over, I'm going to put a link to it in the comment section about the mathematics of saving versus paying off debt. Because a lot of people want to save an emergency fund, and I've seen personal finance gurus, experts talking about how you should have a 6-month emergency fund before you pay off high interest debt. And the math of it is bonkers. So watch that other video. And plus there's like Dolly Parton references. It's a great video. Watch that video if you're trying to decide whether or not you should pay off debt. Ooh, and my cat is singing us the song of his people. Okay. Do watch that video about saving money versus paying off debt, if that's the position you're in. Lastly, I want to talk about bankruptcy. It is not right for everybody, but it is right for some people, especially people like if you're in a lot of credit card debt and you cannot see your way out of it, speak with a bankruptcy attorney. Bankruptcy will have many knock-on effects throughout the rest of your life. So it's like a lot will happen. But I've spoken to multiple people who have told me going bankrupt was the best thing I ever did. I know that's crazy because we often think of it as like this moral failing, like I wasn't able to pay back the money I owed. You know what? Life happens. And I mentioned before at the beginning, a lot of people get into debt because they're just not making a living wage, or because maybe they got divorced or some terrible thing happened to them. Like, it is not a reflection on you if bankruptcy is the best option. Now, with student loans, a lot of people think they cannot go bankrupt on student loans. Okay, you can't go bankrupt on federal student loans. There are some situations where you can go bankrupt with private student loans. So again, speak with a bankruptcy attorney because you do not want to try that method unless it's going to work for you. But I want to make sure that if you are the right person who bankruptcy, like the reason the government allows people to go bankrupt is because it is right for a lot of people. And wiping that slate clean can make their life just so much better. And they're able to start again, start fresh. It can be a good option for many people. But you will have to speak with a bankruptcy attorney. Now, if anybody has any questions, since I'm here live, pop them in the chat. I'm on YouTube. I don't think I'm live streaming to Facebook, but it might be. I'm not sure. I set up the tech myself today. I thought I only set it to YouTube, but I will go check my Facebook after this and make sure that I'm not also going live on Facebook. Oops. All this, again, you guys, if this was helpful, if you know somebody who it would be helpful for, share it with them. Come out to the 2024 Money Reboot. It is going to be awesome. It is going to be a joyful way to get all that dang work done that you know you need to do. just kind of never get done. Or if you're not sure where to start, I'm going to be giving you some education on like the real metrics to be following if you're trying to get yourself into like a really solid financial position. And so there'll be education. We'll have time to actually do the work, so you can feel great. It'll be motivating. You'll have a bunch of cheerleaders to cheer you on, which we never have in real life as adults. As I mentioned, we should get more gold stars as adults. Link in the chat there, and I will put a link to that also in the comments section as well. And if you're interested in increasing your credit score, come out to the live event tomorrow. That's going to be at 3 o'clock Central, so 4 o'clock Eastern, on Wednesday, January 24th. And if you're watching this later and you have some questions or comments, pop them in the comment section, and I will answer you there later on. You guys, this is Kate Moody, the Money Librarian, here to help you out and make sense of all this personal finance stuff, because it really isn't as hard as a lot of people think. All right, cheers, guys.